वीडियो में
स्वागत है।
और आज वीडियो हम लेकर आए हैं, उसका टाइटल है
गौर गोपाल दास ऑन हिज चाइल्डहुड रिलेशनशिप लाइफ लेसन एंड स्पिरिचुअलिटी दी रणवीर शो।
वेल गाइस, ये वीडियो काफी ज्यादा लंबी थी तो हम लोगों ने सोचा कि हम इसको डिफरेंट पार्ट्स में करेंगे और ये आप बताएंगे आज की वीडियो देखने के बाद कि आप मजीद आगे हमारे साथ देखना चाहते हैं या नहीं, जरूर बताना कॉमेंट सेक्शन में। लेकिन अभी देख लेते हैं वीडियो, और उससे पहले
इस वीडियो के चैनल का ओरिजिनल लिंक आपको हमारी वीडियो की डिस्क्रिप्शन में मिल जाएगा। सब्सक्राइब के, लाइक के, शेयर के, फॉलो करें इनके चैनल को। उसके अलावा मैं व्लॉगिंग चैनल का लिंक और इंस्टाग्राम का लिंक भी हमारी वीडियो की डिस्क्रिप्शन में मिल जाएगा। सब्सक्राइब के, लाइक के, शेयर को फॉलो करें।
चलिए देख लेते हैं ये वीडियो।
I genuinely feel honored to have done this particular episode. True story. Right after the episode, Gaur Gopal Das ji just paused for a minute, looked at me and said, "Hey man, I didn't expect this to be this deep. I usually have these kind of conversations with my fellow monks, but I've never done this in an interview or a podcast." And that was actually a pretty big highlight for me for my whole career. Now, I've learned a lot from this man. I had some questions which I had decided before the interview. But when I sat with him, I asked him about his story, how he actually embraced monkhood in the first place, how his thought process was prior to monkhood, how his thought process is today, how he's built one of the biggest personal brands in the country today through pure hard work, pure spreading of positivity. You're going to enjoy this episode if you're someone who chases the status of being legendary in life, if you're someone who chases constant growth when it comes to your own mind and intellect. It is a very deep episode. It is a very long episode. Timestamps are given down below. The clips are going to be put up on the Clips channel very soon, so make sure you subscribe to the Clips channel. But until then, I'm going to leave you all with this beautiful episode of The Ranveer Show featuring Mr. Gaur Gopal Das. Enjoy yourselves. Are you ready for the storm of positivity that's coming your way? We've got Gaur Gopal Das ji on the Ranveer Show. Sir, it's an honor having you on the show.
It's such a pleasure to be here with you, Ranveer, on your podcast, The Ranveer Show.
So, what has your last 10 years been like? How's it been different from the rest of your life?
The last 10 years have been the fruitful years of all what I did in the years before.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like when you construct a building, you have a foundation, and most of your time must be spent on building the foundation. If your foundation's strong, then all the other building blocks on top of it can be built in the later stage. So I think 15 years in the monastery, in the ashram, were more of foundation,
Yeah.
and the last 10 years been the building blocks in terms of reaching out, creating content which can be shared with the world, what I learned, my experiences, and trying to see how it can reach out there and help transform and touch a life. So it's been more of the building blocks part now.
Beautiful. So, sir, in your childhood, did you ever imagine that you'll be doing what you're doing right now? And did you ever picture yourself like this?
In my childhood, I don't think I pictured myself as a person who'd be up there on the screen. I don't think I pictured myself as a person who's going to be a social media influencer. I didn't think I pictured myself as a leader. I did picture myself as somebody who would try to make some difference. You know, some impact, some difference, some impact somewhere. And I think it also came from being surrounded by people like those. Like I grew up in a middle class family in a small town near Pune. And I remember in our neighborhood we had a gentleman who was a school teacher. And at least 4 days a week in the evenings, many students would come to his home for like classes, English grammar and spoken English. And these students were from vernacular backgrounds. And then later I found out that this gentleman doesn't charge. It was his purpose to make a difference to these kids by having them learn English. Then as I grew up, I had just around where I lived was a group of youngsters, I would say like in the age group of about 18 to 24, 23, 24, or 50 to 60 of them. They told their moms that every single time their moms would cook rice, the moms would have to take a fistful of rice and put it in another pot, like a box. And once in a month, these 50 people would bring all the rice together gather some money from their parents, make some khichdi or dal and rice or sambar and rice or some veg biryani, something, and go to the destitute, go to the homeless, go to the needy and the poor and share it, you know. And then I saw my own dad at home. Like these guys were doing it like selflessly, just giving and just, you know, they didn't have the money, but they were just collecting and doing something. My dad worked for this meteorological department of India. And I remember seeing my dad paid for the job, but really wanting to do it so well that he would stay extra hours at work. Sometimes he would go on weekly off days, you know, to go and do his work well so that someone somewhere gets the benefit of it. So I think I was just fortunate and grateful to be surrounded by some good examples of people who either did it for free or were paid but did it so well. They all wanted to make a difference and an impact in their own. In fact, such was the experience of it. As I was studying engineering, I decided I have to try something like that. So I went around and found 2 10th grade students who were really poor financially, but way too poor in mathematics. So I asked them if I could coach them and teach them mathematics. And for one complete year, I taught them mathematics 2 hours a day, every single day, 365 days, and then charged them. And they did very well at maths. And just seeing that smile on their face and their parents and the gratitude of their parents, I think that was the first-hand experience of what it means to make a difference, what it means to make an impact. And like they say, the taste of the pudding is in eating it. You can talk about it, we could listen to sermons, we could read books, we could have so much around it. But unless you taste it firsthand, I think so. That's how my childhood was. A normal child in a middle-class family, but just fortunate and grateful to be surrounded by some good examples of people who are trying their best to, you know, make that kind of an impact.
To give back to
To
society.
give back.
So, I understood perfectly your pudding tasting analogy.
Yeah.
But what pudding did you taste in the monastery or prior to the monastery? Like what made you think that okay, I wanna now put this world here and I wanna enter that world?
I think the pudding I tasted before the monastery was a pudding of great achievements.
Okay.
I've been a university topper practically every semester. I've seen the best. I'm a vocalist. I'm a guitarist. So when you enter into an auditorium full of people, you know, you start singing, start striking some chords on the guitar. Academically, you're doing well. Picked up by Hewlett Packard for a great job. So tasted the pudding of achievements, tasted the pudding of control, power, tasted the pudding of people respecting and bending down. When you're up there, right, you're popular in that sense. And then I come to the monastery and it's quite amazing. Yesterday I was doing another podcast, you know, with someone, and this gentleman was telling me that his friend, very close friend from Delhi, is like a music prodigy. When he was about 10 years old, he had mastered 35 musical instruments. That's like a real prodigy. And he said he grew up and he moved to Mumbai to get into the field of music. And he said entering Mumbai was humbling for this gentleman because he thought he was someone. And then he entered into the city which is filled with creative people who probably learned 80 instruments when they were 5. You know?
Yeah.
And he said it was a very humbling experience. So I tasted the pudding of all of this. And I moved into the monastery with that baggage, with that ashram, that here I am a academic success, here I am a corporate success, here I am a ABC, XYZ. And I come into the monastery and you're surrounded by 30 other monks who are either the similar age as you or older to you, and each one of them from excellent academic institutions. Probably some of them were gold medalists in their field, had great corporate experience and now spiritual experience. And when I entered into the monastery, the pudding I tasted first was humility. It was more forced humility, because you're coming with a baggage that you're someone, and you enter into that space and you realized, hey, I thought I was someone, and suddenly the whole bubble bursts open, cracking the bubble open, And then with good training from my guru and the other monks around there, I learnt how humility is such an incredible quality for one's spiritual growth, personal growth, professional growth. In any space you want to grow, humility is such an incredible foundational premise, because humility entails that you kind of accept, or you say that I know that I don't know it all.
True knowledge is knowing you know nothing.
Knowing that you don't know it all. Ego says I know it all, and humility says I know that I don't know it all. Humility says I know I'm good at something, but I'm not the best of everything or everyone in the world. So I enter in there and I realize there's so many people around who are way better, and that acceptance that they are better paved the way to learning. Like, don't they say, if you think you're the best person in the room or the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. So that was the taste of the pudding, the first taste of the pudding. The taste earlier was, hey, okay, everything in control, everything's going my way, and you come here and you realize, hey, wait a minute, there's so many people who are way better than you, who know so much more, who are way more qualified than you. I studied at the College of Engineering, Pune. Great college. It's a fantastic, very renowned and well-known college. But 10 monks in the monastery were from IIT Mumbai. So that's like COEP, or College of Engineering, Pune, is still second to IIT Mumbai in the country. So that was the pudding I tasted, and I am grateful, very grateful, because that was like training my mind to get into that space, into that attitude of, knowing that I don't know it all, and knowing that I'm not the best of anyone or everything.
I'm going to ask you a super youth-fueled question.
Yeah.
Have you seen this movie called Doctor Strange?
Okay.
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
It's a Marvel movie about this arrogant doctor. His hands get injured in an accident, so he can't be a surgeon anymore. So he searches all over the world for a cure, and suddenly something calls him to Nepal. Something takes him to Nepal. He hears of, these healers in Nepal.
Yeah.
He enters like this so-called monastery, and he realizes that, wait, these guys are on some other level of spirituality.
Correct.
So he was a man of science,
Correct.
and then the world of spirituality just destroyed his whole scientific belief system.
Resonates totally with my story.
Wow. So you're a real life Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
But so specifically in terms of like spiritual knowledge, boiled down for the youth, what did you gain from those monks in, say, your first month in the monastery? What did you realize that, this is how perspectives can be? Wait, let me destroy my own perspectives.
Yeah. I've been a pampered boy, middle class family, but only son. I had a younger sister, but the only son from a Marwadi Jain family. So, like really pampered. Everything I wanted was given. Everything I asked for was right there. A kind of spoiled brat in that sense, I never, Ranveer, ever in my life ate a meal at home if it wasn't made according to what I'd asked for. So I only ate at home if what I asked for was cooked. Right? And I come here to the ashram, to the monastery, and I can't choose my meals. Whatever's cooked in the community kitchen and is served to everybody, I'm going to have to eat that, right? And trust me, back in the day, our ashram, our monastery didn't have enough money. So 5 days a week, they got the same vegetable, the cheapest one, and that was the curry with some rice and dal. And initially my mind was like rebelling. Come from a family where look pampered. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
And then I come here and everything's like, I have to just conform, I have to just eat whatever's available. And then I realized, what did I come here for? Did I join the monastery or the ashram for luxurious, fine, palatable food? Or did I come here for a purpose which is much larger than these little things around my life? And then the more I started tuning into my sense of purpose, something way higher than these little things around, I realized that those things weren't bothering me that much. You know, not to say that they didn't bother me at all. That would be haughty to say that it didn't bother me at all. But they didn't bother me as much because now my attention was on something that I came in here for. So I always tell people, especially the youth, don't allow your minds to be distracted from what your purpose is, what your goal is. All what you go through, as in the ups and downs you experience, is only an outcome of taking your eyes off your goal. You know? So the lack of facility shouldn't depress us, and the presence of luxury and facility shouldn't distract us. So then there was lack of facility. Today there is abundance of facility in our monastery and in our ashram. We live in South Mumbai, downtown, right? We're surrounded by luxury all over the place, you know. So then back in the day there was nothing, and today there's so much. But because the attention is on the purpose, at that time I learned from my training and from my experience there that I could actually take a lot in my stride because I kept shifting my attention to what I was meant to do.
Which was what?
Which was A, to deepen my own spiritual calling, and B, was to see how to strategize to share that spiritual experience with the world. You know? So it kept bringing my attention constantly to that. So if you want to decode my learning from the monastic order, my spiritual path, particularly for the youth, say keep your attention and focus constantly on what you're meant to do in life, which basically means there's a need to discover what you want to do in life. If you haven't discovered, the smallest trivia can disturb you. And if you've discovered and you're focused on that, the largest setbacks can be handled and you can take it in your stride and move on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I feel that even throughout the darkest phases of my own career, which has usually happened because of something happening in my personal life, that the spine of the career always pulls you back. That wait, there's too much work to be done. Can't afford to.
Aligned to the sense.
100%. So. And I think life is going to always be up and down.
Absolutely.
So you've just got to keep going.
Absolutely.
I want to rewind you back a little bit to pre-monastery days. How old were you when all this happened? Like when it began?
21.
Okay. Wow.
I just worked with HP for like 8 months.
Okay. And you realize that, hold on, there's something bigger calling me. You go to the monastery and you realize, okay, this is it. At least this is the beginning of it.
This is, exploring it.
Okay.
See, I have been a non-conformist. You know, you cannot do anything substantial if you're a conformist. The greatest killer of your personal, spiritual, professional growth is conformism.
Can you make that simpler for the listeners?
Yeah.
I think
the greatest killer of our growth is to give in to what society thinks you should be doing. There are social standards of what you should be doing. Socially, it's cool to have a job or a business and start it this way and have a home in a certain place, have a certain car, wear a certain kind of clothes, have a certain kind of hairstyle. And we give in to it because we want to be socially accepted. There is also the other side of the story, which is pressure from family, parents, where there is conformism and giving in there, because what will my parents think? मेरे parents ने मेरे लिए इतना किया है, बचपन से मुझे किया है, मेरे पापा का सपना था मैं इंजीनियर बनूं, मेरी मम्मी का सपना है मैं डॉक्टर बनूं, अरे उनका सपना है वो, और वो आपकी जिंदगी नहीं जीने वाले. Look, I'm not saying we shouldn't fulfill our parents' dreams. They're the most amazing people. They gave birth to us, they grew us up, they did so much for us, and we have that I hate to use the word duty, but I will still use it. Duty out of our genuine love and gratitude to serve them, and their emotional support, their love will always be there for us. But trust me, even if you assume that we have to spend like about 8 hours at work daily, it's a very conservative number actually. To spend way more than that. But even if you have to spend like 8 hours at work daily, and you're working 5 days a week, that's 40 hours at work a week. And assuming you take 2 weeks of holiday every year, that's 50 weeks working, that makes 2,000 hours of yours at work. Assuming you work for about 45 years, that's 90,000 hours of your life at work. Now that's a daunting number, right? The average is about 10 years of your life. I'm really not sure if I just conform and give in to what's socially acceptable or what my family wants. 90,000 hours of dissatisfaction, 90,000 hours of cribbing and complaining that I hate it, I don't like it, this is not what I wanted to do, or what to do, this is what trends, this is what pays, this is what my parents wanted. Conformism. Conformism will take away two things from me. A, my satisfaction. 90,000 hours. Just because it's paying me more, should I be miserable for those 90,000 hours? रोता बैठू क्या मैं 90,000 घंटे यार मैं मजा नहीं आ रहा है इधर क्या करूँ यार करना पड़ रहा है ये पॉलिटिक्स चल रहा है ये प्रेशर चल रहा है अभी क्या करे स्ट्रेस है करना पड़ रहा है 90,000 घंटे. And the second thing is you can never achieve excellence. Excellence only comes when you do something that truly resonates with your soul, you know. So for me, I said no, man. HP, yes, I'm okay, I'm good at doing it. I was good, very decently good at my work, but it's not fulfilling me, you know. And I don't suggest people take a risk like me, definitely don't. I usually tell people that you have a mainstream something through which you earn and then follow your passion side by side so that there's no risks involved, calculated risks, and then when this takes over and grows, then chuck this out and make this as your main thing. Well, my system didn't allow me to do that, take that calculated risk. I just took the plunge and jumped in and said, no, I'm not going to do this if it doesn't really kind of resonate with my soul. You know, so I've been a non-conformist. मैं समाज ऐसा बोलता है, and of course my family was a little hurt with it. Obviously they would, right? Yeah. But now that they see what it has come out to be, they're proud.
I'm sure. So, but again, and I think
I'm sure you may have your journey like that as well. Something similar, right?
Something similar. I think honestly, like right from the time engineering got done. So I'm from a family full of doctors, and even when I was 16, they told me that no, you better do medicine because it's 4 generations of doctors who are expecting the 5th one to become a doctor.
Correct.
And I said no, I don't like blood, so I want to be an engineer. So even that was a huge deal. And right after engineering college, when I tried doing YouTube, it was a massively difficult thing to explain to my parents that there is this thing called YouTube and you know you can make money off it eventually. So what I did for the first 2 years was that I lied to them. I told them I'm working on a startup. Technically it was a startup, so I wasn't lying, it was a white lie. And eventually their friends came and told them that, you know, I just saw your son on YouTube, so what's happening? And then my parents asked me and I was like, yeah, I'm running a startup. But I honestly was training people back then, so I was making money, my team was expanding.
It's like the Gully Boy story.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly kind of what happened. So I'm honestly glad I didn't conform.
Yes.
But so I'm more interested in your monastery as of now. What was a day like there? Like what did you all do like from morning to night? Is it true like that monks get up at 3 a.m.?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So my regular day starts at anywhere between 3:30 and 4, 4:15.
Even today?
Even today.
Wow.
Most days. But if I've had a late night flight that's landed late, would mean it goes at 1 or 2 hours later. But usually never after 6. You know, it's usually between 3:30 and 4 or so, 4 o'clock, 4:30ish. So that's when the day begins. And then we have our group meditation prayer sessions in the ashram where we all come together, which goes all the way till 7:15. And then post that is breakfast. Then all of us come together for discussions. There's discussions on scripture, on spiritual principles. That takes us all the way till 9, 9:15. Post that is time for yourself. Some people, since it's an organization, institution, different people do different things.
Like what?
Responsible, there's admin there. There are online courses. People are looking into the digital platform. People are looking at guests coming in. So there's a guest reception. There's dealing with the guests who are coming in. There's the deities and the murtis in the temple. There's a worship side to there. There's on any given day we have at least over about 400 people taking meals. So there's a kitchen which is ISO certified. So there's a variety of things that go on there. So people get into their respective areas of service or work, whatever you call it. Lunch is around 12:30ish. Then after that, again, the monks come together for some discussions. And then some of them go out in the evening to share this message with different university students.
Or some of them go on social media and put it out for the world.
That's my next point. Yeah. So I did all of this years back.
Got it.
The last, I would say, like 3.5 to 4 or 5 years, this is not my life now. My life has turned to more towards, online. So it's always creating content, and then I travel a lot. My average number of flights in a year are about 150, 180. In one particular year, I took about 280 flights in a year. So a lot of travel. When Jet Airways went bust, in 1 year I had about 450,000 air miles.
Oh, wow.
That's just domestic, So
crazy.
That's crazy.
What are you traveling for?
I travel for events, a lot of corporate events. So I'm really, really very active in the corporate scene. We're trying to bring these spiritual values into business. A lot of corporate heads are now interested in how spiritual values can be brought into business, especially creating the right work ethic, the right ethos in the organization. So I do a lot of these events, and partly my time is also taken by one-on-one life coachings. Very few people though, but I do spend time with them to handhold them to come to where they want to evolve. So yeah, that takes a lot of my time away.
हमारे यहाँ पर जब एक बच्चा जो है पैदा होता है तो तभी उसके बारे में प्लानिंग होना शुरू हो जाती है कि ये बड़ा होकर क्या बनेगा। उसके जहन में ना ये चीज़ बचपन से ही डालना शुरू कर दी जाती है। फिर एक वो जब अपनी एक ग्रोइंग एज में होता है ना, जब उन्हें अपने लिए डिसीजन लेने होते हैं तो उसके जहन में वही चीज़ें होती हैं कि भाई मैंने ये करना है, मैं ये बनूंगा, मैं ये करूँगा।
लेकिन मुझे ऐसा लगता है जो हम लोगों ने आज की वीडियो देखी ना, मुझे लगता है कि ऐसे बहुत सारे गुरु को हम लोग को सुनना चाहिए। वैसे मैंने पहले भी काफी सारी वीडियोस जो है मैं देखती रहती हूँ गौर गोपाल दास जी की, बहुत ही अच्छी एग्जांपल्स के साथ मैं कहूँगी कि वो वीडियोस को बताते हैं, कॉन्सेप्ट को समझाते हैं। लेकिन कुछ चीजें ऐसी की हैं कि जो मतलब इसमें डिस्कस की हुई है, और मैं भी अक्सर ये बात बोलती होती हूँ कि आप जब भी कोई काम करते हो तो आप अपने पैशन को फॉलो करो। ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि हम ज्यादातर वही चीजें कर रहे होते हैं जो कि सोसाइटी एक्सेप्ट करती है। हम लोग कभी भी वो चीजें वो करने में रिलक्टेंट होते हैं थोड़े, कि जिसमें हम अपने आप को जाने कि हम क्या चाहते हैं। हमारी मतलब हर चीज को ऐसे बर्डन लेकर या जिम्मेदारी लेकर हम लोग नहीं चल सकते, और ना ही हम उतने अच्छे तरीके से काम कर सकते।
देखिए मैंने वही बात आ गई ना कि बचपन में हमारे ऊपर जो है चीजें इम्पोज कर दी जाती हैं कि भाई आपने ये करना है, ये बनना है। बहुत कम लोग ऐसे होते हैं जो अपना पैशन को जो है अच्छे तरीके से फॉलो कर पाते हैं, वरना मोस्टली लोग ऐसे होते हैं कि फैमिली प्रेशर में आकर वो चीजें करते हैं जो उनकी फैमिली चाहती है। मेरा दोस्त है, उसका आगे से भाई है, उसका इंटरेस्ट है फैशन डिजाइनिंग में, लेकिन जो है घर वालों के प्रेशर में आके वो जो है फिजिक्स में उसने एडमिशन लिया हुआ है। वो अब जब कभी उस दोस्त से मुलाकात होती है ना तो मुझे कहते हैं मौसम भाई मेरा बिल्कुल दिल नहीं लग रहा है इसमें जो है ना फिजिक्स में। मैं कहा जब तुमने फील्ड ही गलत सिलेक्ट की हुई है तुम्हारा दिल कैसे लगेगा।
अच्छा, वैसे मैं ना एक और चीज सोचती हूँ, जैसे कि गौर गोपाल दास जी ने अपने बचपन के बारे में बताया कि उनकी सराउंडिंग में उनको कुछ ऐसे एग्जांपल्स नजर आई जो बहुत ही पॉजिटिव थी। बट आई थिंक हमारे घरों में एक प्रॉब्लम होती है, और वो ये कि जब हम छोटे होते हैं ना तो बच्चों को ये चीज रियलाइज ही नहीं करवाई जाती कि जो अच्छी चीजें हैं, छोटी छोटी चीजों में भी खुशियां हैं, छोटी छोटी चीजों में जो नेकियां हैं। मैं अभी के टाइम की बात कर रही हूँ, पहले के टाइम की बात नहीं करी, बट अभी ये चीजों में बहुत सारे पेरेंट्स जो हैं वो लैक करते हैं। देखा जाए तो उस तरीके से अपब्रिंगिंग नहीं की जाती कि एक आपको जो छोटा छोटा बोलेंगे ना कि जो नेकी है या अच्छा काम है उसके बारे में बताया जाए, या आपको सेटिस्फाई किया जाए कि इसमें भी एक खुशी मिलती है। लेकिन इंसान के मुझे लगता है लाइफ में ऐसा ऐसा अगर वो सही ट्रैक पर जाना शुरू होता है तो मुझे लगता है कि एक टाइम ऐसा जरूर आता है जहां पर वो चीजें रियलाइज करता है और उसको ये फील होता है कि अगर हम कुछ ऐसा काम करते हैं, जैसे उन्होंने बोला कि वो 2 स्टूडेंट्स को पढ़ाते थे जो कि मैथमेटिक्स में बिल्कुल भी अच्छे नहीं थे, मुझे लगता है हमारे जैसे ही होंगे, लेकिन उन्होंने फिर भी उन पर एक मेहनत की और पढ़ाया। तो एक माँ, क्योंकि सबसे पहले टीचर तो माँ ही होती है, ठीक है ना, एक माँ, एक टीचर या लाइफ में जो भी लोग आपको मिलते हैं, तो मुझे लगता है कि जब आप उनको उनके मुताबिक काम कर रहे होते हैं या जो वो मेहनत आप पे करते हैं वो नजर आती है, तो डेफिनेटली एक खुशी जरूर होती है उस बंदे को। जैसे कि हम कहते हैं ना कि हमें एक मुर्शिद कहते हैं ना, मुर्शिद की जरूरत होती है अपनी लाइफ में जो कि हमें सीधा रास्ता दिखाए। इसी तरीके से मैं कहती हूँ कि जो गुरु होते हैं ना वो सीधा रास्ता दिखाते हैं और उनका काम होता है आपको इनलाइटन करना।
मैं यहाँ पे जो है ना थोड़ा पीछे से बात स्टार्ट करना चाहूंगा बचपन से, कि क्या नाम लेते हैं, हम जो है ना चीजें अब बहुत ज्यादा बदल चुकी हैं। अब जो है ना वो बर्गर टाइप बच्चे अब जो है वो आपको देखने को मिलते हैं। अगर हम अपने बचपन की बात करें ना, हम कोई काम गलत करते थे ना तो हमें उस पर डांट पड़ती थी, हमें बताया जाता था ये काम गलत है, ये इस तरह नहीं। अगर आजकल आप देखें ना तो अगर बच्चे कुछ गलत कर भी रहे हैं ना तो माँ बाप जो होते हैं ना, जहां तक मैंने देखा उनसे एक तरह का लाड ही कर रहे होते हैं। इवन कि उल्टा माँ बाप बच्चों को मना रहे होते हैं। हम अपने बचपन की बात करें तो हम अपने माँ बाप को मनाते थे कि हमसे गलती होगी हमें माफ कर दें। उसके अलावा अगर बात की जाए, जब हम अपने बचपन में स्कूल जाते थे तो वहां पर हमारे जो पेरेंट्स होते थे उनका ज्यादा फोकस ये होता था बच्चे स्कूल से ज्यादा सीखें। अब अगर देखा जाए तो अब जो है वो एक चीज बहुत खत्म हो चुकी है। स्कूल में बच्चे जाते हैं वहां पे ठीक है, बस होमवर्क ले लिया, स्कूल में टाइम स्पेंड कर लिया, चलो जी ट्यूशन। अगर रिजल्ट खराब आता है माँ बाप ने बच्चे को कुछ नहीं कहना, बेशक बच्चा पढ़े ना पढ़े उसे कुछ नहीं कहना। टीचर्स का सर जो है वहां पर जाकर उन्हें पकड़ लेंगे, जी भाई क्या है आपने बच्चे को ये नहीं कराया वो नहीं कराया। इवन के बच्चे की भी गलती है कि बच्चे ने क्यों नहीं चीज सीखी। अगर अपने बचपन की बात करूं, बहुत सारी चीजें हैं मैं उस टाइम छुपा गया, ठीक है ना, लेकिन मुझे अब रियलाइज होता है कि मैंने अगर वो अपने टीचर से या जो कंसर्न पर्सन था उससे ये चीज मैंने बार बार पूछी होती तो मुझे भी पता होता कि भाई मैंने ये किस तरह करना है।
वेल मैं इससे थोड़ा डिसएग्री करूंगी क्योंकि हर इंसान का डिफरेंट एक्सपीरियंस रहता है लाइफ में। बहुत सारे पेरेंट्स ऐसे भी होते हैं जो कि अपने बच्चों को लेकर बड़ा मैं कहूंगी कि इस चीज का ख्याल रखते हैं कि वो क्या सही ट्रैक पर जा रहे हैं या नहीं जा रहे, पढ़ रहे हैं या नहीं पढ़ रहे, उनकी इनपुट कितनी है। तो मुझे लगता है कि ये एक हमें मिक्स सा एक हम कहेंगे कि रिस्पॉन्स मिलता है बच्चों की तरफ से, क्योंकि हम टोटली पेरेंट्स को भी रॉन्ग नहीं कर सकते। बट एक कुछ जो चीजें जो मैं फील करती हूँ ये कि जब हमारा बचपन था उस टाइम पर आई थिंक शायद इतनी ज्यादा चीजें एडवांस नहीं थी, तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि बच्चे डिप्रेशन में जाते थे। अभी के टाइम में मैंने देखा है कि जो यंग बच्चे हैं वो बहुत ज्यादा डिप्रेशन में जाते हैं और उसकी रीजन ये है कि हम अपने कंफर्ट जोन को कभी छोड़ते नहीं है, ना ही हम लोगों की ट्रेनिंग इस तरीके से की जाती है कि हम उस कंफर्ट जोन में, अगर हम लग्जरी लाइफ ले रहे हैं तो हम अब एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे हमारे बच्चे के उससे भी ज्यादा हम लोगों को उस तरह की चीजें मिलें। लेकिन जैसे कि गौर गोपाल दास जी ने बताया कि मतलब वो एक बहुत ही पैम्पर्ड बच्चे रहे हैं अपने घर में, लेकिन उसके बावजूद उन्होंने एक डिफरेंट लाइन जो है वो चूज की। अच्छा मैं थोड़ी सी यहाँ पर मुझे क्यूरियोसिटी है कि एक्चुअली जो बोले कि एग्जैक्ट जो रीजन है वो मुझे अभी तक नहीं पता चला कि उन्होंने क्यों मतलब कि एक वो वाली साइड से दूसरी साइड पर स्विच किया। कोई एक ऐसा वाकया या कोई एक ऐसी बात जो उनको लगी, या फिर सिर्फ उनको बस फील होता था कि नहीं ये मेरे लिए नहीं है, मैं कुछ और करना चाहता हूं।
वैसे समटाइम्स इंसान को जो है ना फील होता है कि वो जो कर रहा होता है ना कि यार मैं इस चीज के लिए नहीं बना, मैं एक किसी दूसरी चीज के लिए बना। जैसे अक्सर औकात आप भी बात करती हैं कि मैं जो चीज करना चाहती थी मुझे वो मिल गई है, मैं अब उसमें बहुत ज्यादा खुश हूँ। तो ये चीज हर इंसान के साथ होती है कि आप जो है ना आपको फील आती है, स्ट्रॉन्ग आती है कि यार ये जो काम मैं इस टाइम कर रहा हूँ ना ये वो काम नहीं है जो मैं करना चाह रहा था।
नहीं मेरा मतलब कहने का है कि जो गौर गोपाल दास जी की जो एक मतलब उनकी एक स्टोरी की एक्चुअल स्टोरी की क्या वो रीजन बनी, मुझे वो अभी खैर समझ में नहीं आया, या आई थिंक वो पॉइंट उन्होंने आगे जाके मे भी डिस्कस किया। लेकिन हाँ मुझे ये लगता है कि आपको अपनी लाइफ में सुकून पाने के लिए, क्योंकि जब हम सोसाइटी को रिटर्न करते हैं कुछ अपने तरीके से और कुछ अच्छा करना चाहते हैं, हमारी लाइफ में ऑटोमेटिकली सुकून आना शुरू हो जाता है।
यार यहाँ पे मैं सुकून से बात करना चाहूंगा। देखें अगर हम आज के वक्त की बात करें ना तो हम ये चीज कहते हैं कि आज की जनरेशन वाकई बहुत डिस्टर्ब है, बहुत ज्यादा अनकंफर्टेबल है। उसकी भी एक रीजन है। हम अगर हम बात करें, हम कितनी अभी भी बाहर बात करें, हालांकि टेक्नोलॉजी काफ़ी ज़्यादा आ चुकी है, हम बहन भाई आपस में बैठ के बातें करते हैं, एक कोई बात तो एक दूसरे से शेयर करते हैं, लेकिन अगर हम आज की जनरेशन से देखें ना तो वो बहुत ज़्यादा डिफरेंट है। वो मोस्टली इसी तरह होते हैं कि जो भी चीज़ें होती हैं ना वो लिमिटेड रखते हैं, अपने आप तक रखते हैं, किसी से शेयर नहीं करते। अगर हम अपने बात करें, हमने बचपन में नेचर को भी उस तरह देखा है, सुबह उठना जल्दी से, और फिर उसके बाद अगर हम बात करें, हम ऐसी जगहों पे भी रहे हैं जैसे गाँव की बात करें, तो अगर आज की जनरेशन, अगर हम शहरों में रहने वाले लोगों की बात करें ना तो इस तरह नहीं है, वो बहुत ज़्यादा लिमिटेड हैं। उनकी नो डाउट एक लग्जरी वाली लाइफ है, लेकिन अगर दूसरी साइड पे कंफर्टेबल लाइफ की बात करें ना तो वो उससे काफ़ी ज़्यादा दूर भी हैं।
मुझे लगता है कि अगेन इसमें जो बड़े हैं और घर वालों
अच्छा, मैं अगेन में मोहतन से डिसएग्री करूंगी।
नहीं, डिसएग्री करने वाली बात नहीं है, बट इट्स लाइक हमारी भी कुछ बड़ों की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बनती है। हम सब कुछ एक्सपेक्ट नहीं कर सकते कि बच्चे जो हैं वो ऐसे ही करेंगे। हम जैसे उनको ट्रेन करेंगे डेफिनेटली वो हम लोगों को उसी तरह का रिजल्ट भी देंगे। मेरे ख्याल में हम लोगों ने बच्चों को नेचर से प्यार करने के बारे में नहीं कभी सिखाया, उनको छोटी छोटी नेकियों के बारे में करने में, या सोसाइटी में आप कोई अच्छा काम करेंगे उसके बारे में नहीं सिखाया। हम लोग क्या चीज शुरू करते हैं कि करियर करियर करियर, और फिर उसके अलावा अच्छा कैसे आपने अर्न करना है, अपना लाइफस्टाइल कैसे अच्छा करना है, ये ही हमारे दिमाग में चलता रहता है। क्योंकि अभी भी मैं बहुत सारे बच्चों के साथ जब मेरी कॉन्वर्सेशन होती है तो मुझे अभी भी जो नजर आती है उनकी सोच वो यही सोच है, इसके अलावा मुझे और उनकी कोई सोच नजर नहीं आती। तो मुझे लगता है कि आपको थोड़ा स्पिरिचुअलिज्म की तरफ भी आना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये ऐसी चीजें होती हैं जो आपको आपकी लाइफ को चेंज करती हैं। और जैसे कि उन्होंने बोला कि बहुत सारे वो ऐसे इवेंट्स भी अटेंड करते हैं जो कि कॉर्पोरेट इवेंट्स होते हैं। और बहुत सारे लोग इसमें इंटरेस्टेड भी होते हैं कि जो एक स्ट्रैटेजीज या बोला जाए कि जो तरीके स्पिरिचुअलिटी के थ्रू वो वहां पर इंट्रोड्यूस करवा सकते हैं उसको वो करते हैं। तो आई थिंक उससे क्या होता है, क्योंकि जब हम बिजनेस करते हैं आई थिंक हम लोगों को बहुत ज्यादा एक काम रहने की जरूरत होती है, क्योंकि बहुत बड़े बड़े डिसीजंस लेने होते हैं। तो आपका जो मतलब माइंड है वो काम होना चाहिए और अच्छे से वो डिसीजंस लेने चाहिए। तो उसके लिए भी मुझे लगता है कि ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है कि आप ऐसे सेशंस भी अटेंड करें, ऐसी बातें भी सुनें, क्योंकि ये आपको एक नई रोशनी और एक नई उम्मीद देती है। वेल गाइस, ओवरऑल काफी मजे की वीडियो थी। अगर आपको अच्छी लगी होगी तो जरूर बताइएगा कमेंट सेक्शन में, ताकि हम लोग आगे भी इसको कंटिन्यू कर सकें। और आपका क्या कहना है इसके बारे में जरूर बताइएगा कमेंट सेक्शन में। अपनी लाइफ के बारे में बताइएगा कि क्या चेंजेस आई, कभी किसी का ऐसे टर्निंग पॉइंट आया हो लाइफ में, कुछ बुरा चल रहा हो फिर कुछ हुआ हो और उसके बाद से जो चीजें हैं वो सही होना शुरू हो गई हो, जरूर बताइएगा। और इसी के साथ हमें वीडियो से
लाइक, सब्सक्राइब, शेयर,
कीप अस इन प्रेयर्स।
गुड बाय।